We're gonna go over Ruth 3. So it's been a while, so we're gonna go over Ruth 1 and 2, just a quick recap. So in Ruth 1, we see famine strikes the land of Israel. It tells us that Israel is living in a life of sin. So Naomi and her family travel to Moab to escape the famine. So Naomi, Ruth, and Orpah are left as widows because we know that their husbands have died. And Naomi decided to return home to Bethlehem after the famine ended, and Ruth wanted to follow with her. Orpah stayed back behind. Ruth said she went because she was inspired by Naomi's devotion to God and she has the desire to know him. We see Naomi become bitter about her circumstances and she expresses that she feels that God has punished her. But then in Ruth 2, we're introduced to a new character, Boaz. And he showed favor towards Ruth. We get like a little hint that it might be romantically, and in this chapter, we'll kind of confirm that. And then we see Ruth's work ethic, and she has a strong work ethic. She doesn't just want things to be handed to her. So now we're gonna go into Ruth 3. So in Ruth 3, it's kind of Naomi is giving a lot of like advice to Ruth. So she's concerned for Ruth and she wants her to be taken care of, kind of tells her, like hints towards her that she wants her to get a husband. So does anybody remember the 3 pieces of advice Naomi told Ruth when approaching Boaz? All right, I'm gonna ask Jesse for one.
Put perfume on.
Yeah, do you remember another one?
Lay down at his feet when he go to sleep.
Yeah. What?
Able.
Abel.
Take a bath, perfume.
Uh, she told her to wear like good, like her nice clothes.
Yeah, so like she told her, look and smell your best, right? She basically said, feed him before you're gonna go up and talk to him. Make sure he's well fed. Don't interrupt him in the middle of eating. And then it's okay to let them know you're interested. Sorry, Jen. She did say the foot of the bed, but I'll get into that a little bit more later. So those are the kind of the 3 pieces of advice, and we're gonna go into them a little bit in detail. That's why I said this chapter is kind of for the women. It's kind of like a little bit of dating advice. Um, so the look and the smell your best, she said wash, put on perfume, and get dressed in your best clothes, like Jesse and Abel were saying. The fact that she's being coached about this kind of indicates that Ruth isn't so concerned with her physical appearance. She's more virtuous, and Boaz mentions that this is why he's kind of attracted to her later in the chapter. And then we can also apply this for us today, because where you're going and how you're dressing and how you're behaving is what you're going to attract. So if you want to go out and find a virtuous woman, you shouldn't be going to the club to find them there, because that's not really what you're going to find. But that's just something you should look where you want to be, where you want to find a partner. Where did Naomi tell Ruth to go? It was kind of a specific place. It was called the something floor.
The threshing?
Yeah, right, the threshing floor. Good. So then she goes in to tell her it's okay to let them know you're interested. So when he lies down, note the place where he's lying, go and uncover his feet, and then he'll tell you what to do. This is not suggesting that Ruth does this in a provocative way. It was like a gesture of humility and gave him the indication that she was interested. In that day, it was the role of the servant to lay near their master's feet to be ready for the command of the master. So it wasn't so to be done in like a sexual manner. So this how we can apply this today. In many marriages, many husbands wish they had a wife who submitted to them the way Ruth was doing here, but do they provide the kind of godly leadership and care and concern that Boaz showed to Ruth? Same way for many wives wish husbands had a husband who loved and cared and treated them the way Boaz did towards Ruth, but do they show the same kind of submission and humbleness and respect that Ruth showed Boaz? So if you want something from your spouse, you have to look at, are you giving them what they deserve? Just kind of a back and forth relationship. So what do you think Ruth means by spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family?
That was that. According to the Jewish custom, if your husband died, the closest member to the family supposed to marry that lady. I guess it would, and to have children to continue this seed. That's what she meant by it.
Yeah, that's true. So she was boldly asking him to marry her. So if a woman becomes a widow, the law was that widows or should marry the closest blood relative. So how did Boaz respond to this request?
positively.
Right, he lets her know that she's interested too. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, because he said, well, there's a closer relative to me that has the right to redeem you, but if he doesn't want to redeem you, then I will do it.
Exactly. And this is kind of lets us know there might be a little bit of an age gap between Boaz and Ruth. But they are both interested in each other, but they're waiting on the Lord's time. And Boaz is doing this very respectfully, following that law. Ruth stayed the night with Boaz, but he tells her, like, I don't want people to see you leaving. Why do you think Boaz didn't want people to know she was there? Ralph?
Because I think he didn't ruin her reputation.
Very good.
And then the way he did it, that he gave enough corn to bring back to Naomi.
Todos se iban, decían, "Oye".
Maybe.
Well, you know, so that Naomi knew that nothing really happened.
Exactly, right? So Boaz and Ruth weren't trying to hide anything scandalous.
Yeah.
It was just that he didn't want her to ruin her reputation,
Yeah.
right? And maybe he didn't want the
Yeah,
closer
people
relative.
think bad about her, you know?
He didn't want the closer relative
No
to,
gossip.
No gossiping.
to
really no
yeah,
gossip.
to hear about this and think that maybe they were going behind his back. Did you want to say something?
Mhm. In today's world, they might call that the walk of shame.
They might, but that's how he perceived.
But that's how it's, they're gonna word, that's how it's perceived, even though they could have just sat and,
Talk.
you know, just talk all night.
Yeah, but that's what we talked about in the beginning today, gossip, right? Like it could ruin somebody's reputation.
Yeah.
So what did Boaz give before she left? Ralph answered this. He gave her measures of barley.
Sí, yo se lo voy.
Mm-hmm. So then Ruth went home and told Naomi what happened. How does Naomi respond? I'm looking to see if anybody on the screen first. All right, go ahead, Renee.
No, Renee, Abel.
Oh, Abel, well, I'm gonna let Abel answer.
Yeah. You're muted.
There you
To
go.
wait, to wait and see, like, wait, until the next morning, because, the matter will be resolved.
Very good, right? She encourages her to be patient. And this is kind of interesting, like, it's very relatable, because if you do something, you go out and you message somebody, say you went on a first date and you message them, you might be so anxious waiting for them to respond, but if it's meant to be, let the Lord do his work.
Amen.
This was kind of just a quick chapter about like their love story starting. I
Yeah.
thought it was cute. I'm excited to see
It
what
was nice,
happens.
it was nice.
Go ahead, Brandon.
What's a threshing floor? Is that a party hall? What is it?
I
Well-
think this just means the floor of the.
No, the threshing floor is like a farmer.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
more farming than they.
Like a farming house.
Uh-huh.
Where you.
He owns the farm.
Yeah.
The
I
The
think
barn?
it's not where they
Te digo,
separate the
the
barn
barn.
and the stuff.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
flush it out.
He laid down on the top of the cone at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, I read that it was
You know-
traditional to do that because the
Yeah.
thieves would come and steal your stuff, so always the owner
Yeah,
or
they
a
want-
servant slept with the goods in the
They
farmhouse.
don't want nobody to steal it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.